Okay, so we put our heads together about this because you give a kiddo a talker and you get a lot of honesty and snarkiness. And I am not going to say it's just our teenagers or our older students. I think it's across the board. And part of it is, I think, a really good sense of humor, but also I was in a room with one of my clients, and the speech therapist, who's like a real just was on top of her, taking notes, wanting to see what I was doing, and just doesn't believe in her at all. And all of a sudden, this child piped up, and in Snap, if you found the go away, it's got this great voice that says, "Go away," and she looked right at her. Now, I personally felt in that situation that she was expressing her anxiety over this person being over the top of her. And later, after the lady was gone, we talked about different ways she could say it, but it fit the bill. But we don't want our kiddos alienating people. So I'm Susan Norwell, educational specialist, co-founder of Rett University, and my partner is.
Hi guys, I'm Courtney Barnum. I am an educational specialist for Rett University, and I'm also a sibling of a woman who had Rett syndrome.
And so we kind of put our heads together and thought we would come up with something that would address this issue a little bit. So Courtney, why don't you take it away on some of the slides that you put together? She does such a great job all the time on this.
Well, and to preface this too, I have a young lady who is in her, is a mature young lady, and we have some conversations sometimes that are not appropriate, and she likes to bring up things that she knows are going to get a reaction out of people. And that was kind of what prompted me to start all this, because gotta say, love the snark, love the sass, but like Susan said, we don't want to alienate people, and we also want to teach them how to, as I jokingly say, I have, my professional Courtney and then my friend's Courtney, and so making sure that they understand that. So sarcasm, being genuine.
Well, I think that in general, just understanding your audience,
right,
is a lesson. And I don't think it's a lesson we should hold back from our kiddos because they have Rett and because they're using a talker. We would do the same for any speaking child as they're getting older. We would start to talk to them about what it feels like when they say some of those things to grandma versus saying them to their cousins, So I don't think this is I just think sometimes we are so excited they're saying something, we forget that. They need to learn to be polite too.
I agree.
So
sarcasm, being genuinely snarky while also being 100% hilarious, because I'm not going to lie, my girls have said some things and you will see it in the video, I have busted out laughing because it is so appropriate, it is so funny, and it makes you laugh. So you got to take it. So snarky, some have questioned whether snarky is a real word. There can be no doubt that it is, and I love the word. The adjective has been recorded in English since 1906, which I actually did not know. Its original meaning, crotchety or snappish, has largely been overtaken, however, by the far more frequently encountered sense, sarcastic, impertinent, or irrelevant. I can't talk today.
Irreverent.
So, again, our girls, they make some comments, and it is hysterical. Well-placed comments at family gatherings, inappropriate comments at the wrong time or with the wrong audience, calling people out either in public or private events. Some of our more mature friends exploring new language and seeing how people react to it. Saying what we might be thinking or saying exactly what is on their mind. This is actually one of my clients, and mom was getting onto her teenage son about taking too long to get ready, and that she was going to, said, hurry up or I'm taking your phone. And my friend looked at her and went, sure, mommy, whatever. And, and mom jokingly said, and this is why we don't take the device everywhere, because this was also the same child who at I think it was Thanksgiving, looked at her aunt and was like, you're ignoring me or something like that, because it's an aunt that doesn't talk to her a lot. It's those comments that are, you want to say it to them too. Like, I'm not going to lie. There's times when you're like, you want to say it, but you want to also make sure that they're not offending people or not hurting people's feelings or things like that. Especially with those well-placed comments. It's, going back to the fourth one, I have some mature friends who are exploring different pages on their device, and mom called me and she's like, I never thought I'd have to talk to her about not saying those words in public. And it's something that we really need to, if we profess to presume potential for our girls and boys, and we are teaching them then we need to be teaching them when it is appropriate and when it is not appropriate to say things.
And some of the stuff is kind of mild, like the whatever mom wouldn't bother me. But here's what does bother me. Somebody feeling like they have to take a kid's device away in order to avoid those situations is not going to teach their kiddo when and how to manage those kinds of feelings that come up. And, I'll pop in the Ashley story at this time, and you'll hear about her a little later. But she was just having a day where she was giving me wrong answers, things I knew that she knew, and just being just being really unlike herself. And when that happens, I usually say to kids, what feeling is blocking what we're doing here today? And she went right to the bad page and went to bad feelings on Snap and said, mean. I said, are you saying that I'm mean? No. Are you saying it's mean for you to have to do this work? No. Are you saying that you're just trying to be mean? Yes. Oh, so this is your effort to be mean to me. And I'm wondering what you think that's going to get you, because she has she gets to earn some minutes for movies because she used to have quite a movie addiction. And now she has to earn her movie minutes. And I said, so you're trying out being mean. And how do you think that's going so far? And she had to sit for a minute and go, not very good. I said, yeah, I think you're being mean to me is ending up you not doing your work. And if you don't do your work with me, you have to do it for homework later, which then bumps into your movie time. So that was really a good lesson. But if I took her device away because she was saying that something was mean or that I was mean or whatever, then we never would have had that ability to work through it and figure it out. But let's think about our kids. Do they ever get a chance? Siblings are mean to each other. We don't promote it. We don't want them to be mean to each other, but they are. But how does a kiddo who can't use their hands and can't motor very well be mean to anybody? They try it out. It didn't feel very good to her, and she didn't do it again. But I think those are kind of like important things that we can't just say, don't say it. That's not nice.
Right.
We have to kind of explore it. So here, why don't you talk a little bit about Amaya? She's so adorable.
She is so cute. And she was being snarky today. Boy, we were calling her Sassy Pants today because she was just being ornery. But this is Amaya, and I have been working with Amaya for quite a few years. She is 9 years old. Spanish is her first language at home, and she's learning her English and her AAC kind of at the same time. And she is doing fabulous. Writing is her least favorite subject because it is harder activity for her. She's got to think of those sounds and things like that. And so what was funny about all of this is my sister happened to be visiting at the time, and when this happened, and we had Christy. We did not have a device with Christy other than for the very short time at the end of her life. And it's probably a good thing we didn't have it for longer, because I definitely think Christy would have been one of those ones who was quite snarky on her device. But I don't think with my sisters, I don't think they always truly saw Christy's full snarkiness like I did. And so she's listening to the whole thing, and it's hysterical because she's like, did she really just say this to you? And so we're talking, I'm having her do something. We're doing a writing activity. She's very upset with me, and you'll watch her eyes, and she's kind of testing out the can I say this to her? And then at the end of it, we talk about the fact that it is okay. I gave her permission. You can call me stupid, but you cannot do that with other people because it's going to upset them. I understand that you're mad at me right now. So if you can press play, ma'am.
I can.
Amaya, I'm waiting. waiting for you. The longer it takes, the longer it is until we get Moana. I know you're working your body back over there and your body's not listening as well. And I know that that's really frustrating to you. And then you got mean old Miss Courtney who's asking you to help you spell these words. And you're probably feeling really, really frustrated and upset with me right now. And if your body's not listening to you and not moving the way you want it to, you're probably pretty uncomfortable as well. And you might even be a little angry with me because I'm making you do the work. I will wait for you though. We are going to do this. We're going to do 2 words and then we'll take a Moana break.
You're going to see her eyes come on the device pretty soon and start exploring what she wants to say. And you'll see her eyes go up to stupid in the left-hand corner or the right upper hand corner quite a few times.
Upset.
I'll wait for you to get your body over. Are you stuck, I'm wondering? I know, I'm mean. Yep. You're disappointed in me and you're furious with me? Okay. Are you going to call me stupid? Stupid.
Way to keep a straight face there, Courtney.
I know.
Maya, you know what? I will give you permission to say those things to me, but you might not want to say them to other people because they might get offended. I know you're mad at me right now. I wonder if this is the first sound that we need in the word as. Yes or no?
And then she did what was necessary. But what was interesting is ever since then, she has gone in and she has gone to her, I'm mad, and said, I'm mad, you. I'm mad, you. So she now knows we don't need to say I'm, stupid or things like that, but she will tell me I'm mad at you. And that's the more appropriate thing. It is okay to say, I teach, I tell my nieces this for my great nieces. They are allowed to have big feelings. All of our kids are allowed to have big feelings and express those big feelings, but we have to express them in a very appropriate way. Just like we're not allowed to run around screaming and throwing a fit when things are not going our way. We have to do that. That's just socially acceptable behavior, and we have to teach that. So I'd much rather she say to me, I'm mad at you. We had the fun little lesson about stupid, but now she's saying, I'm mad at you, which is much better.
I agree. So if we're going to presume potential, and I think I've probably had this discussion about lots of things, teaching writing, teaching reading, disciplining, that I used to, my husband and I we have 4 kids, and one of our kiddos was ADHD. He probably still is. He's an adult, and had a learning disability. And I said, Bill, it'll be one thing if he has ADHD and a learning disability. It'll be another thing if he's a spoiled brat with both those disabilities. And if he's going to make it, he can't be spoiled. We have to give him consequences. We kept them commensurate with what he understood at the time and what he could tolerate at the time. But I will tell you, he had his first job at the naval base with some very old naval officers. He was doing warehouse work. And at his evaluation, they said, we love this guy. He's a good listener. He's very respectful. He does what we ask him to do. They didn't much care if he could spell every word correctly in that environment. They didn't care that he needed to move a lot. That was fine. He was delivering things all over the base. It was great. But being respectful and being able to follow the rules and being able to express himself appropriately was what made it possible for him to have a job, and now has a family and, does great, and, he's a wonderful success story. But I think it all started when we made that decision early on. So the other part of it is teaching kids when and where. When can you, when can't you? And oftentimes kids just naturally pick that up in social settings. Like how kids, if you listen to kids on the playground, neurotypical kids, they know that they're talking with their peers when they use certain language that they wouldn't carry over into the classroom. They've got a sense of boundaries. It's kids that are raised in houses that have boundaries use those same boundaries where they are in other surroundings. But if with our kids with special needs, they're not necessarily always in as many social settings as other kids. They're not often encouraged to talk about how they're feeling about something. People might assume that they're not doing it because they don't know it, or they don't want to do it. Or I've always been one that wants to get to the feelings. It's my ED-BD kind of background, is what's going on underneath the surface here. But I think about how they sound to their peers also. Mm-hmm. Do we want our kiddos saying things that are rude and disrespectful, and their peers hear it and might feel like, well, that's not a good thing to say. And again, so I'm protective of my clients in regards to making sure that they can be included in any situation, and they'll only make the occasional faux pas like all of us do. But nobody feels like they have to take their device away. And I think that this last piece right here of them being so smart, that we just need to give them the why.
Exactly.
I think they're more receptive to what we're trying to tell them when we give them the why of what's going on. So, here you go. This one's yours.
So teaching the when and where, and this kind of goes back to like IEP Courtney versus my best story. We were driving. We had made plans to go out of town for a weekend, and I was riding with my friends, and it just so happened that a client needed me at an IEP meeting, and so I put my Bluetooth in, my Bluetooth earpods in, and I was on the IEP meeting while we were riding up to North Carolina, and I get off, and my friends who are in the car with me look at me and they go, wow, it was like having a completely different person in the car. And because when I'm Courtney, I'm just Courtney, and I'm just funny and goofy, and do all my silly stuff. But when I was, I'm professional, and I can be a little more strident when it comes to certain things, when it comes to advocating for our kids and making sure that things are being done. So it was so funny to have that experience, because my friends don't often see me in that episode, that environment.
Yeah.
So teaching the when and where. We don't want to stifle their thoughts and opinions. We want them. We want them to give us their opinions. We want them to tell us what they're thinking. We want all of that. But we do need to teach them when it's appropriate. We're not going to look at, Mom, if she's doing something wrong, and say, Mom, you stink, or Mom, I hate you, in the middle of the grocery store. We're going to maybe, do it later when we're back at home. Mom, you made me mad because you did this, or whatever. Making sure that we teach them when it's appropriate to, speak up. We want the device with them at all times. Of course, unless you're in a place like a roller coaster or a pool or something like that, we want them to have their device with them at all times, but need to teach them the appropriate use. There is a time and a place for those words. I have teenagers and 20-somethings with the swear pages on their device. And it is appropriate when they are around their friends. It might not be so good when you're hanging out at breakfast with Aunt Martha and you start using swear words. That's not probably the appropriate time. Going to the doctor's office and using swear words, not probably the appropriate time. Same thing with the sexuality pages and the dating pages. I have 20-somethings. They want to talk about that stuff. They are interested in those things. It is an appropriate conversation to have with your parents, with your with your friends, but making sure that they understand it. My one young lady, we've talked about it. It is appropriate to talk to myself and, a couple of she has caregivers that have become her friends. They are her people. We are her people that she can talk to about it. She cannot talk about it with certain other people because it's not appropriate conversation. It is not okay, so just making sure that we teach them the when and where. And this is like Susan said, I will be honest with you. One of the things that as a kid, I always wanted to do was tease my sister. I wanted my sister to tease me. Our family is very, very sarcastic and kind of joking around a lot. And all I wanted was my big sister to tease me. And when she got her device and I withheld M&Ms from her by accident, she did tease me and yell at me and tell me I was mean and all those good things like that. But one of the things I think as a sibling, and I'll talk to the other siblings about this, I think we do want that teasing. We want to have that normal joking around. And so, again, this is one of my clients, and she told her brother to, again, mom tells brother to practice his monologue for his Spanish class in front of the sister, and she's thinking she's going to be encouraging. Well, she was like, this is terribly embarrassed, terrible embarrassed. This is boring, bad. And she got this big grin on her face. And her mom then is like, that is so not nice. You need to be. And she's like, okay, sorry, pretty good. And what was funny about it is mom's laughing and we're talking about this and mom's like, her brother loved it. Like he had this biggest grin on his face. Like I just got teased by my sister. And I will tell you, I'm not going to lie. I got teary-eyed about it because it's something that you you want that so badly. And to be able to have that is absolutely amazing. So.
There we go. A little teasing is good for the soul. So one of the things that I think that we need to think about is this idea of really giving them an appropriate language and modeling it in the appropriate way within the environments. I like this idea. I front load a lot with my students, where I'm saying, okay, now this is what we're going to be doing and this is what it's going to be like. And this is brand new. So you might want to tell me, slow down. You might want to tell me, I don't get it. Can you say it again? I give them the language that they might need versus saying, you're stupid, because that's not really what they want to say. They want to lash out so when people get angry and they say things that are like off the wall, it's never that's the problem. There's always something underneath it that's the problem. And so if we can front load some of that, I think it's helpful. And I'm not saying this is just about our kids with Rett. I did this with my own kids. I do this with my grandkids. I do this with my husband. I do this with everybody because I think that we as a society aren't really good at using some kind of self-control and talking about what's really bothering us.
Correct.
Like it's almost like we have to get angry to drive the discussion, which I think is a weakness in our society in general. But I think for our kids, it doesn't really help them because they don't have the same access to language. They don't have the same speed in expressing themselves. They don't have the richness of language usually around them. And somebody has to be holding that to make sure that they know what they can say in a situation. And if they come up with something that's close, we're like, you know what? That really gave me the idea that you were feeling this. It might be easier to hear it this way. You know what I'm saying? Not squash what they're saying. Just give them a little bit of knowledge about what it might feel like for somebody to hear it. So I have a student, the Ashley I was talking about before, who wanted to try out being mean, who when her greeting page was up and I would say, hi, look at that nice big hi. She had a nice big bye over here. She would say bye. And everybody at home thought it was hysterical that when her therapist walked in, she would say bye. And I said to the parents, I think it was funny the first time. Maybe it was funny the second time, but by the 30th or the 50th time, it's really not that funny. So I did some things. I did this thing where I made the bye smaller, make her work a little harder to get to it. But I did talk to her and I said, I really want you to have friends at school and I want your friends to see how smart you are. I think you want that too. And she was like, yes. I said, well, if you say bye to them when you're supposed to say hi, they're not going to think you're very smart. They're not going to think you're joking. They're going to think that you're making mistakes. And I think that people after a while get bored with it. And I'm bored with it, to tell you the truth, because you say it so often. It's like, okay, here she comes. And I don't think that's what you want to have happen. So what I did is made this personal button really big and purple and bright so she could see it. Instead of getting here, she could get here. And she has this page. Courtney put together this page, this part down at the bottom. I added some things up at the top. But I really beefed up her news. So when she gets to the news, she's got, that's not the news page. I put the wrong page up there. Remind me to fix this when you give out the handouts. Okay. But the news page has, I think, I did, I was, I went. It's got big buttons that I record under new things all the time that we're doing. Made it really easy. She is now, when she sees me, she's saying, nice to see you, or I'm going to have a great day. She goes to her personal page. She said, I think that's going to be fun. I said, well, I wonder what you think we're going to do that's going to be fun. So it's become now a reteaching, a repatterning, because sometimes they get to these snarky things and it becomes a pattern. And our kids, as much as they have motor planning issues, they sometimes get in these loops where they hit the same thing over and over again. And once they learn a pattern, they can't not do the pattern. So we have to kind of understand that. And then we have to kind of help them do a different pattern. Let's do it. Let's talk about something else. I'm not going to make a big deal if she doesn't say hi to me. I worked too hard at getting her to say hi to me. She was going to say bye to me. You know what I'm saying? Let's leave that control issue at the door, and let's replace it with this really rich experience now that she's having about what she can say to people and how she's feeling. And there's that go away button I told you. Go away.
I love the go away button.
Yeah. So and we put in jokes because she loves to tell jokes. So she can start out saying hi and telling me a joke. So we started to build this in to her pages so that she could get to them really easily, and they replace. She has not in months and months said bye instead of hi or something else.
Well,
and it wasn't that hard.
Stephanie,
but I will tell you that
Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead, and
What I did is I probably spent a good 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of each session talking this with her, like having this discussion where I was telling her what I did using the buttons and going through, what I thought was going to happen, and just building the rehearsal for her, front loading that so that as she started doing it, she felt really comfortable. So
Stephanie commented in the chat, and it's very true, that kids and adults with complex communication needs completely skip and miss out on that developmentally appropriate stage of arguing, name calling, being impatient, rude, all those things. They tend to miss out on that. And then she also commented, and I completely agree, that, they see people's reactions and they learn the people's responses to the patterns. That's, and we can't tell the world to not acknowledge the pattern. I have some of my girls, when they see me, the very first thing they do is they say bye to me because they know it's time to work, and they're like, bye. I don't respond to it. And I have told their family and stuff like that, don't respond. We, and we just go past it, and we again teach them replacement behaviors. And what's funny to me now is we get to the end of the session where they've been working hard for the whole session, and they're like, wait, hi, they don't normally say hi. They go, do you have a few more minutes? Like, I'd like a little bit more of your time, please. Can we keep going? And I'm like, nope, sorry.
And that's when they won't say bye.
Right.
They're not saying goodbye at the end. Right. Yeah. But and I agree with Stephanie. What I think is that our kids do need a chance to be rude. Mm-hmm. I don't want to take rudeness away from them. I just want them to understand why they're saying it and how it might make people feel. Just like you would with any kid. They're not going to put duct tape over their mouth. That's what taking their device away is, essentially. Right. So this was, I'm going to show you the first part of it so you can see the writing, and I'm not going to show you the rest of it. I did a thing in my movie where I could make it go faster. But I forgot to put it on mute. So it's me talking like a chipmunk. So we got done with this book. She just moved up to another level. She got done with the book and she told me it was bad. And I was like, huh. And why do you think it was bad? Because I think that sometimes when kids say things, we just accept it and we move on, or we ignore it because it's not what we were thinking, whatever we do, we don't really delve. And so I said, what about the book was bad for you? I think this does two things. One, I think it discourages a pattern that they don't really mean. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get your goat by saying this book is bad. If I'm now saying, why do you think it's bad? You have to explain to me. They're like, oh man, I have to tell her why it's bad. Maybe I should choose my vocabulary a little more carefully. I'm not like I'm punishing them. Writing is a good thing, but it's kind of like, oh, she's going to ask me why. And what she wrote was kind of amazing. So look at the beginning of this. Yes, there was something bad about this book, and it starts with an E. It is bad because... That's my dog with her bowl there. I wrote that at the top. It is bad because E... Do we need A, B, C, or D? Yes or no? Yes. Well, that's looking at the table, so you have to look at, you're looking at the yes. Okay, do we need A? Yes. Yes. All right. Because EA, so let me put that in your word prediction, and let's see. EA, each, early, earlier, eat. Do you need any of those words? You have to put your head up straight, please. I can't read you when you're sideways. Let's get your head up straight like a big girl. That's really bad for your neck. That's that, a girl, straight up. Do we need each, early, or eat? Yes. Do we need each? Yes or no? No, not each. Do we need early? No. Do we need eat? Yes or no? Yes. Oh, eat. So in this book we were reading about ladybugs. One kind of ladybugs eats other insects. And she went on to write eat, INSE, which brought up insect. And she said it was bad because one of the ladybugs ate insects. She had a heart for that little insect, and she didn't like that it was being eaten. So again, in my opinion, I might have jumped to her being a little snarky about my book I worked so hard to make, but it wasn't. She had something else to say that wasn't snarky at all. It was actually really smart, and it was really expressing her opinion as to why she thought the book was bad. Now, the interesting thing is that she could be more complete in her expression of why it was bad with writing than she could with her device. And I am finding that over and over and over again. And it's why I push writing so much. It's very hard to put that whole idea together and plan all of that on a device.
Right.
But if we teach kids to read and we teach kids to write, and I'm telling you, the news we all got this week about the trials starting on gene replacement, we've been pushing it Rett U for years, is get them ready for the cure. And I'm so humbled by the experiences that I have with kids when I give them the chance to open up and tell me what's going on, what they're able to put together with writing. And so, again, we teach replacement. What can we say instead? What can we talk about? How can we get somebody's attention, keep them engaged, other than saying something snarky everybody laughs at for 2 seconds and then they lose interest? That's really not how you develop relationship, back and forth communication.
Correct.
And then what about exploring why they say something to help them understand that, when you say something, I'm taking it as authentic. I want to find out why you're saying it. Good practice, I think.
Well, and I think with our kiddos too, especially with our young adults, one of the things I have found with especially my tweens and my tweens, teens, and 20-somethings is they kind of are waiting for like other people to answer for them because they didn't have devices for a lot of times. And when I look at my girls and I'm like, what you have to say is important. I want to hear what you say. I don't want to hear what I have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. It really starts to bring them out a little bit more. And it's so like that to me is so important because they deserve to be heard and they deserve to say what they need to, but in a way that is not upsetting anybody. It's just like we all have to talk. So
I don't want anybody to have feeling constipation.
No, we don't. That's not good.
It is. So, final thoughts. Our boys and girls are sassy. We don't really want to squash that, but we want to teach them. We use it as a learning opportunity, just as you do with neurotypical peers. When and where is it appropriate? And there are just some kids that are a little sassier than others, and they've probably been that way since birth. But, hey, we love them. We love them. That's for sure.
And one of the comments is devices do not have tones and inflections, so sometimes that part is missed out for our girls as well. That is so true. I mean, let's be honest, how many of us have gotten into text arguments or whatever because we've texted something that has come across the wrong way and things like that. And that's another issue that we need to be aware of with devices is, they don't have that tone and inflection and what, we're saying and things like that. One of my girls doesn't want her mom around when we do our sessions. And she uses the go away button. And I'm like, okay, we don't want to tell mom to go away. That's just not nice. So how about, go away, please, or please go away, just putting, let's say it a little bit nicer. And she's learned to do that because mom, you don't mean to get your feelings hurt, but you do sometimes. Or like, wait a second, I'm sitting here with you doing all this.
How about mom? We need to give her a button that says, "Mom, I need a little space."
I need a little space. There we go.
Because that's probably the issue, and it sounds a little nicer. So there's our emails. If you need to get a hold of us, any subjects or ideas you have, please let us know. I can take us out of full screen. Does anybody have any questions or comments other than, hold on. Let me see. You recorded, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything? Want to use a snarky comment towards us?
Well, we will be planning our next Rett U web chat depending on February and how things go because we have Disney Princess coming up. So we keep an eye out for the next Rett U web chat. Like I said, if you guys have any ideas or if you guys have any things that you're like, we really could use this or we need some help with this, please let us know. Email me and we can get it set up because we are always looking for subjects. We pull things as we kind of as we kind of encounter them, but we also want to make sure that they are useful for you guys as well. So
thank you, everybody, for joining us, and everybody have a good week. Oh, thanks so much. Got me thinking about a few things I can work on with my daughter. Good.
Awesome.
Good.
And let us know if you guys need help.
Yeah, exactly. You need help, let us know. That's what we're here for. All right. Bye, everybody.
Have a good night.